2-finger point for 15 seconds, and then a countdown from 10 for the last 5. You got that? All right, and with that, Hal's timer starts as soon as he begins speaking.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and make a hasty generalization. At least most of you are familiar with college, have gone to college, are familiar with two-factor authentication. Now, supposedly, according to the nerds and the coders of the world, it does wonders for security. I still get emails from the colleges telling me that we need to change our passwords, though, so I'm not quite sure if they're telling me the truth or lying. What I do know is that it frustrates me every single time I try and log on with my phone and they send me a text to my phone. But imagine, it did literally nothing as well. Which, of course, leads me to the question you all chose today. What needs to be done to get the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, back on track? Just like two-factor authentication, if it were broken, it is both frustrating, takes forever, makes no logical sense to common sense, and doesn't do a damn thing as it currently stands. But there are a couple of things we can do to fix that. First, we need to address screening itself and going through security. Then we need to address staff in TSA. And lastly, we need to actually work on the TSA stopping threats, and we'll get to that because, oh boy, do I have a lot of evidence to show how bad they are. I wasn't lying earlier. I hate the TSA. So let's begin with screening. According to The Hill, in January of 2025, the TSA screens approximately 904 million people a year. People are constantly flowing through airports. They are constantly busy. And they are also constantly discriminating. According to ballardbrief.byu.edu, in July of 2024, they are so renowned for this discrimination, particularly against Arabs, Muslims, and Latinos, because I guess they can't tell the difference. That's they. Sorry. Anyway, that ACLU filed a lawsuit against them to prevent this. Now, according to TSA itself, and they never lie. They officially never discriminate. That's in May of 2025. They would never do such a thing. They institute policies to ensure that it never happens. Yet, time and time again, my white self, who looks traditional and doesn't wear rainbows, has never been selected for additional screening. And yet, constantly, people of color are chosen for that additional screening, without any actual reason or evidence to suggest that they would need it. The TSA is flawed. We all know that, but that isn't the question, as much as I wish it was. The question is, how can we fix it? According to the Cato Institute, we simply need new training. In Cato Institute, in March of 2025, we need new training for screening policies. We need to ensure that these staff members are actually trained on how to not racially profile, on how to actively take steps to ensure that they are being fair, just, and equal. Because they represent traffic within this nation on any large scale. And if every single person entering this country or moving from place to place suffers discrimination, TSA will never get back on track. But all of this doesn't just happen. It comes from the staff themselves. According to View from the Wing in January of 2025, the TSA is chronically understaffed. This isn't just an issue that came out of nowhere. This came from those who already work there wanting favoritism. According to HR Grapevine in March of 2025, the TSA is infamous for giving mandatory overtime to just a handful of officers and high-level workers who had a couple of promotions, whereas they won't recruit more and they won't give more hours to those who are trying to apply. They have chosen the system that holds just a few getting all of the money, but it's not a lot of them, so I understand where the desire comes from. This process results in them being tired, overworked, kind of lazy, and oh so very cranky. And, I mean, you get it. I get cranky too when I go through TSA. It is a negative environment, but that can be solved. According to the TSA in July 2024, if we just hired more workers and paid them more, we could solve a lot of these issues. But well, let's not just talk to the workers themselves. OnLabor.com said 6 hours ago, echoing the same message. that if we just hired more workers, we gave them more reasonable hours, we didn't play into these favoritism dynamics, and we paid them more reasonable wages, they wouldn't be overworked, they wouldn't be lazy, they wouldn't be cranky, they'd be able to do their jobs to the fullest extent. And lastly, we have how I buried the lead, which is that the TSA doesn't actually really stop any dangerous threats. According to the Department of Homeland Security, as NBC reported in January 2025, when they Department of Homeland Security, did an audit of dangerous items running through TSA, what percentage do you think got through? I mean, this is two-factor authentication, right? So it's got to be something. 3? 95%! 95% of the dangerous items smuggled in by the government, through the government, but different departments, got through TSA. They are not effective at stopping terrorist attacks. In fact, according to the Spire in April of 2025, when the director was asked just a handful of years ago, hey, have you stopped a terrorist attack ever? He went, for reasons of national security, I can't answer that. What do you mean you can't answer that question? That is why you exist. That is why we made you after 9/11, but, we just can't really answer that. So, again, I know, I have to answer the question at some point. The best way to solve this, according to RTI International in July of 2024, is simply to use better technology, stuff that isn't from the 2000s or even earlier, that we've just thrown into the mix. It's to ensure that we have more visual searches, not just throwing everything through a machine that confuses a brick for a bomb. We need to actually tailor training, specify specialized training for individuals for individual problems, so that we can actually assess the issues at hand and actually tackle possible threats that could come to this nation. I don't hate the TSA because it's simply a problem or annoys me. I hate it because it fails. Which leads me to the question we have today. What needs to be done to get the TSA back on track? And the answer is that we need to address screening policies. We need to address the issues with staffing, and we need to actually begin to stop threats. If the TSA is meant to be the two-factor authentication of our nation's security, we need to make sure that when it sends that little text to your phone, it actually ends up meaning something instead of absolutely nothing.